Hello and welcome to the Clumsy Gamer's review of Final Fantasy 15. I'm the Clumsy Gamer, if you couldn't guess. To let you all know right off the bat, this is going to be mostly spoiler free. There is one spoiler really towards the end, and I'll warn you before it happens, so let's get started. To start off with, let's talk about what worked very well with the game. The first thing that worked well is the story. The main story was fantastic. It was emotional. The character development was natural and it felt real. And the interactions between the characters was also amazing. And the story was heft. It had heft. It felt real. And even though there were places where there were issues with pacing, overall it was very good progression. Along with those characters was one of my favorites, the villain. Probably one of the best villains ever. Certainly up there with, Kefka and Sephiroth and Kuja. And he was one of these characters that, the first moment I saw him, I felt kind of, I don't know about this character, but every single interaction after that, I was in love with the interactions, the way the character moved and spoke and just everything. I wanted him on my team. And I was praying and hoping against hope that he would be an anti-hero, someone who, a bad guy doing good things. And it made the scene where you see his true nature even all the more upsetting because you really love this villain a lot. Or at least I did. I thought he was very well developed. The music was amazing. It was fantastic. There are a couple songs in particular that I really enjoyed. The villain's music, of course. It had intonations that kind of reminded me of Kuja's theme, or Pandemonium from Final Fantasy IX. I think there are organs in it. It's very melancholy. It unsettles you. And then there's the boss music. The boss music is like this operatic piece, and it just gets your adrenaline pumping. It's a really good piece of music, and all of the music in the entire game is, serves its purpose. It's emotional, and it sounds fantastic. One thing that was really, really good to see was the return to a more open world. Final Fantasy 15 feels truly open. It's probably the first game that's really felt open since Final Fantasy 9. I'm a bit sad we don't have the opportunity to use the airship until after the credits roll, but I am happy it was included in post-game exploration. All around, the environment feels open and fully realized, with just a few restrictive issues, such as not being able to swim here and there. So, probably the thing that the game excels at the most is its combat system. It's very easy to use, it's fun to master, the action on screen flows seamlessly, and every time you're in a battle, it feels cinematic. So, it's like watching a movie that you're making in real time. And then you have like combos, team-ups, fancy tricks, and a rating system that all provide you with this this feeling of not only bragging rights, like I got A+, A+, A+ on this battle, but it also pushes you to challenge yourself in every battle, even on easy battles. Just seeing what kind of cool feats you can perform. So we've talked about what's great with the game. Now it's time to talk about what doesn't really work in the game. The first thing I noticed, and it's not a complaint from me, but it may be a complaint for other gamers. I'm the Clumsy Gamer, so I like easy games. And this game was very easy. I didn't really feel like there was much of a challenge to it, honestly. It was like a chocobo stroll, like that. It was just a nice breezy flow through the game. Now, I'm the type to always do side quests before moving on to the next part of the main story. So I was overpowered through most of the game already. But even the side quests felt easy. There were maybe 1 or 2 battles, both optional and a boss battle, that really I felt that they were challenging, which means I was really frustrated by them. Most of the boss battles and most of the hunts are very, they were difficult-ish, but they weren't really that difficult. I never felt like my life was in danger or that I was gonna get a game over screen. I think I maybe got a game over screen once the entire game. Money and item rationing were also rarely an issue. So hardcore gamers might find Final Fantasy 15 absolutely unchallenging. And you know, speaking of side quests, I found that far too many of the side quests were underdeveloped and repetitive. I came from the game I played before Final Fantasy 15 was Witcher 3, and in Witcher 3, every side quest is basically a self-contained game, complete with its own history, story, and characters. In Final Fantasy 15, it seems more like we're going from point A to point B to collect item C. There's not a lot of depth to it. In previous Final Fantasies, for instance, when you would go to get your ultimate weapons, the side quests to achieve those ultimate weapons often had you diving into the character's history for that ultimate weapon. In this, you pretty much just gather items from the ground and from monsters and give them to Cid to craft a newer weapon. It's very boring, honestly. So this is the only spoiler, so spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear this part, just jump ahead to the next slide. The next screen behind me here should be the Final Fantasy 15 logo, and you can hear my conclusion on everything. But this is the spoiler alert and another issue I had with the game, even though it's not really a big one. The game, the World of Ruin, you get to near the end of the game. I was really hoping it would be much like Final Fantasy VI, where you have this whole new world to explore in a post-apocalyptic environment. And the reason this is a small issue is because the game mechanic that allows you to go back to the past and complete any side quest that you have missed or anything you want to do in the past is fantastic. I mean, there's definitely not a lack of post-game or side quest type content, but it would have been cool to have like a completely new environment you could explore too. One of my favorite things about Final Fantasy VI was the World of Ruin, so that was my only other complaint there. So, what's the final verdict? Final Fantasy 15, in my opinion, is well worth buying and playing. I think it shows strong promise for the franchise going forward as well. And that's very important considering that the Final Fantasy VII remake is looming. I think if they can work on improving their side quests, polishing their open world experience, and possibly making battles and this game in general a bit more challenging, I think some of the best Final Fantasy installments may actually be yet to come. And that's saying a lot because, you know, 6, 7, and 9 are really the ultimate Final Fantasy experience. But I think that we can now include 15 in that, and I think that moving forward we have a lot of stuff to look forward to. So yeah, feel free to drop any comments about this video in the chat at the bottom of the screen, and have a great day. Hope to see you again.